Another thing I want to add about Fresno, in case otherwise the globals missed it, because of all those keeping your mouth shut after the smashed in head on the coastlines of Holland. A particular corn cob number of 221 Bilderberg, Holland Church, the New York. And Dirk Jan van Dam's Hague. So you see, 221 is the 20th century of the space tech that was lost on the coastlines when that girl had her head smashed in. So I am the replacement to report. Particular corn cob. The drink pool in the house. Make you feel good. So, you see, the reason you added your psychos to me, not because you're patriots. That shit, you shouldn't make it a habit on the coastlines. Losing that intel. Or corporate, or intel. So the reason there is the Skokland film and Radio Globo is probably because of that. Not to mention, of course, Fresno, where the parents are on retirement. Fresno doesn't have any sciences or corporations or anything of that in the metros around the world. That's all news on the news. Fresno is where the parents are on retirement. So born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, for somebody who already had her head smashed in on the coastlines and came back as a particular corn cob, what they call Disneyland. They thought Crab was the original. No. Crab was just a very strong girl who, in geological rebirth with the asswipe, became crabby. And you cannot be so callous that you don't know what history is on the coastlines. Now, I don't have pretenses, but you will say to me, you have PhDs, you have a million boyfriends, a limousine. Intelligence doesn't really care for that. It cares for what it lost on the coastlines. Who's gaining, who's losing, or the corporates. That I can tell you in a nutshell. Okay? What I'm representing, the void. And when they said prophetic void, they were happy. I wasn't, because I knew that that was the original child. All right? So don't be an asshole and send more cycles, because it just shows who the fuck you are as people and cheerleaders. It shows. That's why Dr. Parrots had a field day just with that. Congratulations for Nate. Pink is easy. I don't know about blues. If that happened, then it has to do with space tech. And that girl's dead anyway, with the head smashed in on the coastlines. So if that's what you lost on the coastlines, and those are the relics, it means that you are... Don't make it a habit on the coastlines. Because the girl wasn't alone, and there were others, and there were corporates. But that's, you see, that's why I don't have pretenses. That's why I connected the dots worldwide to globals for myself, and I was obsessed. In a way, even about the death of that girl, but I couldn't say it. Not only because of the psychos, because of the cheerleaders in Fresno and in Frisco and the hounds that followed me. For instance, tiny federal prisoner, San Quentin from Fresno, and they're Jewish. Hells Angels being Jewish, well, I don't know. They called it Schadenfreude Jr., but that's old. So Dr. Parrots is old, the Hague is old, the Bureau de Veritas is old, do it yourself. Because you're the geniazzas, the most intelligent on the planet, US, right? You're the strongest, but you're not the most intelligent. That's the problem with the CIA, is that they had the intel before, and then eventually... But the work was actually on the coastlines. The corporations were elsewhere, okay, on the planet. They were not, in Fresno. Fresno is where the parents are retired. Okay, so don't start, blowing smoke up Disney's ass because you want to feel like woman. Because creating a particular corn cob in Disneyland, Jamaica, nice to believe that some people thought Crab was the original. She wasn't. That's it. And I'm not going to explain the blues, because that's a concept that you didn't understand. You didn't understand what the intel did when it was alive. So when you wasted it on the coastlines, then you started thinking that you're patriots, which you're not. Fresno, the parents are born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, like Norilsk and Pieshitz. Pieshitz is Russian, Norilsk, Turkish. It's just way past the capital cities. You can't even get to that place, okay? So that's why they're saying it's out of your paycheck, your dictionary, your whole shit, okay? For the ghost child. Indians call it what you want, connected us for West globals. That's it, okay? And that's all news on the news that just me. So the corporates are pretty strong. So if they have something that they want to say with that point in history, that's up to them, to that intel, not to you to judge a book by its cover with your PhDs, pieces of paper, because you won't reopen that shit on the coastlines. You could reopen banks, but this is a different coastlines. Fucking deniers and liars inventing shit. They worked as the parents, as directorates, D1s for humanitarian relief services, humanitarian jobs, dropping aid in helicopters all over Africa, Asia, and South America. Oslo, DJI, USA, and Oslo was mostly natural disasters. Okay? So getting back to what I wanted to say here, in Fresno, I was a caregiver. For the grandmamas, about 20, 30 of them. One of them in particular I remembered, Virginia Woolf. Lester Wolf's grandma. They were all cancer riddled. And they paid me like $6, $7 an hour to drive them around on and off for many years. Catholic charities, Lutheran charities, any odd job that I could get in Fresno when I was on retirement for the parents. The proverbial sweat child. After what happened on the coastlines. And they had many funerals. Early funerals because they were cancer riddled. Pink, huh? What about Grace and Black corporations? So much for Disneyland. Well, let's just take out Disneyland, va? And hope for the best. I don't think so. That's the parrots. So, watch this. And not only. For fun, Shadow for Junior. Go ahead, you can kill me. Then what? What are you going to show? For fun? Do you know what it means to take Mademoiselle Disney and shoot at her for fun? And send cycles after what happened on the coast? Very patriotic. Very around the world. Come on, lie more. Show who you are. Do you give a shit for the losses in your own country? Show it. Come on, man. Big shit and all those. Show it. Big ass ship to yacht and bridges shot up around the world. Now we'll use on the news. The angels. What about the parents of prison? Okay, getting back to prison. On their retirements. Which, that's why there's the Scotland film and Radio Global to stay out. That's it. That's unusual what happened on the coastlines. And you're going to see that shit coming from China. Come on. Yeah. Thank you. Watch this. I bet you the Greta Thunberg of intelligence, Mohian of intelligence. That's yeah, almost. Anyway, get back. So, I had to go to so many funerals, and I spent like a minute with them. And they used to say to me, my kids, my grandkids are all female and male, they're all careers, they're all shit, they're born and raised there, they're fucked up, corrupt, and stuff like that. And I listened to them. I just shut up, and listened to these grandmothers. I don't know how many funerals I went to. I didn't even count them. And literally, I would stay a minute or two. And they would look at me, and they're grandmothers of these criminals, these puppy dicks, of these animals, the girlfriends. In Fresno, these truly puppy dicks is the word called for the father and the mother. Nurses even. Oh, Jennifer Segura and Sonia Rocha were the prison guards for Tom and Jerry, Dara Towels and others. Buddies, friends, wingmen, and the whole shit. Then they became social services directors about 15 years ago in Fresno, and I was like, oh, fuck. Prison guards for the county of Fresno. You're not federal prison in San Quentin. You're still lying about who you are in Fresno, your intel? Oh, my. I know you have your own shit over there, but don't push it. With Disneyland? Oi. Grab to grabby is pathetic. And so, the reason Canada and the others were speaking about is the multitasking. The multitasking. Coastlines is lost. Either you are a geniazza yourself of the 21st century and do that shit with the others, ship yacht and bridges, or you shut up. So if you're a PhD up here, you know what. So this is the linguistics that I hear from the masses. It's not only the intel, it's the masses of people. So it's not just a question of laptops for 4 years straight. I don't have to keep explaining myself the never-ending story with that was looking at me on the crab to crab eat. Whether it is the intel or the peoples and the masses in the capital cities, on my crawlies and the crawlies, that many times after what happened on the coastlines. Either you do it yourself and admit that you made an erroneous mistake on the coastlines that was so bad that you ended up losing all that intel with the corporations, or you quit. That girl was a leader for that. You don't like hearing it? Then go back to Disneyland. You're mentally retarded. A country that doesn't know how to admit losses of intel within its own country is not a country. A country that brings back Disneyland, a country that for some reason is having fun with Disneyland, with cheerleaders, is called mentally retarded. No amount of doctor parents. The intel is just looking at you like, you're retarded. What did I do to you? Other than being a shiny star that had all that fucking intel before, ages before, and still, and then what? On the ghost lines 2-1. And then you're still patting yourself, saying, look at me. I come back like this in this format. 2-1 stamped on my head, and everyone knows about it. Scotland Film and Radio Globo, and you're still sitting down and sending cycles. You lose. You will lose. Being violent is easy. Being stupid is easy. Being retarded is easy. Opening that show on the ghost lines is difficult. Welcome to reality. And there's the uncomfortable truth of the parents on retirements at Fresno. Something that you, my dear, don't understand. And they're not even hanging benches. It's worse. Because after so many flyings and runnings, and that many Sundays, even from abroad, Fresno easily, the famous intelligence of Fresno could have been easily bombed. And nobody in the US would have given a shit for those assholes in Fresno and the fame of Fresno. This is your problem in the US, if you can call it even a problem. I'm not going to go into the semantics of this. You are bad people. Control your feelings. I had to learn how to control my feelings when I saw the void at La Sapienza University. After what happened on the ghost lines. Scott Glentham and Radio Globo was a 5-year-old to appease your tits and ass and your cheerleaders. I'm not Mother Teresa of Calcutta, but I don't know what the fuck you are in history. Chinese are still speaking about a historic child that had her head smashed in on the ghost lines, and you're still fucking lying about that, denying that shit. You're not worth shit. It's not a question of putting up the little baby and shutting up. I'm not afraid to speak to you like a normal person, like that. Sending your psychos and your abusers, they'll turn around, they'll say you're the fucking psychos and abusers, because that's what you are for Disneyland. You want to prove what? That you're female? That you're so intelligent that you can reopen that show on the ghost lines? To Disney by now? You want to prove that you have parents like mine in Fresno on retirements? What are you proving? Worse than Harry Potter gossip, worse than royalty, worse than I don't know what. And you speak about some strange signs a la Merda in the South on the ghost lines. Do it yourself. Anyways, getting back to what I was saying. The grandmothers that I was taking care of through Catholic charities and Lutheran charities in Fresno shut down too. That too. Oh, no, man, something to do. My sons, my daughters, my grandkids, they're all Carreras, they're filthy, they were born here, they're disgusting. Filth bags. I'm coming over. I go for 1 minute to their funeral. You know, they pay me $6-7 in prison. I get paid $7 at McDonald's in prison as a part-time job, sub-teaching, whatever. I go abroad every year. It's course, other places. I come back, for the retirements of the parents. Now what? No. You have really, look at me. How many times on the groceries and electrical? And you'll be sitting there and saying to me, who's the coward, who's this, who's that? Control your feelings. Stop thinking that what's lost is lost. Do it yourself. Stop showing me your anger, your individual anger. Because to find assholes in California, there's like 1 million fucking retards. And girlfriends. To behave the way you behaved shows who you are. I don't care for chulas or Muslim fanatics, Christian fanatics, or Jewish fanatics, or this or that, or drug addicts, or college frat boys who are looking at babies. You're all retards. You are guys who will never make history. No one's going to smash your head in and leave shit behind that's empty in corporate world. Nobody. No one's going to bring you back as Disneyland as a stand-in child. But they did to me, 2-1. To each his own. If they say that Intel lost on the ghost lines, admit it and stop fucking around with me. The stand-in. You're retarded. You don't see that. For you, everything's easy. While a child at the age of 5 had to learn Scott Glentham and Radio Globo around the world. Or why to globe bars that many times. You are unfair. And it doesn't matter how much education you have. If you're an asshole and a bitch, you're an asshole and a bitch. And no one's going to change your individual fucking stamp in history. No one's going to change your parents. No one's going to change the world for the better with the jobs of the parents. From the pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. They did. You didn't. You don't have parents like that. So show respect for work and show respect. And start thinking, Who's the patriot? With the hanging benches of Lark Winters and Ali Rect defending both parents for their jobs. Humanitarian relief services, dropping aid in all those countries. And they went to Iraq twice. Stop being what you are. And that verbal vitriol coming out of Fresno with some fuck up that followed me, the cheerleaders, I could tell you this, you little extras, ain't changing shit. Ain't changing the coastlines, ain't changing your friends or your enemies seeing us shit on the coastlines long ago and doing whatever they do, because I can't change it. And if you can't change it, it means stay fucking away from that shit. Or do it yourself and reopen it yourself. With the corporates. And stop fucking around with this one. Because it shows. With the Dr. Parrots, who you are. Not me. I'm Disney by now. This is what you are. And the day you admit it is the day that within the US, intelligence, CIA can relax. Otherwise, you're just full of shit. And Disneyland will be just looking at you like, what's the point? Let's just stay around for retirement. And everybody else is going to agree with me. And they have many times. All over the world. And even within the US, there are people that think. Not everybody's a fucking hater. Not everybody's retarded. Not everybody gets offended by Disneyland. They understand what this is. They're not stupid to that point. They're not retarded. They're not cheerleaders. And that shit that your San Federal prisoners, San Francisco, from LA, who were born in Fresno, what are you playing at? With 5X bras. What are you getting out of this shit with Disneyland? What are you showing? That you can break down a girl? They'll break down you. They'll put you back to San Quentin. They'll put you back to Fresno, and they will get Fresno. Are you afraid of Fresno? With Tom and Jerry Diet Towels? You're all criminals there. And everyone knows it. Throwing shit at Disneyland is not going to help you. It's not going to help the coastlines and the losses that may continue even without me as repercussions in history. Because it was big intel. And it was a ship to yacht. Literally. And that's the old news on the news. And you didn't change it. So stop sending me you idiots. Or retards, actually, not idiots. That's it. Everyone has their own history. I'm not going to be putting up with stupid vitriol from you when the vitriol is coming from the intel against you. Not only with the hanging benches of Lark Winters and Lally Rect, other intel. And their jobs and others and others and others, the intel there, the intel in those places. And who are you in Fresno? Grandiosities. Then why don't you fucking open the coastline? I don't give a shit, that's dead. Okay. So you want to play with Disneyland to make you feel like a woman? Really? Then why is that shit getting emptier? Why is the cancer getting emptier? And that was only the pink. Why, darlings? Are you historically made for July the 20th, 221? Easy to kill, isn't it? Difficult to reopen those buildings. Welcome to the ship to yacht. That was the old news on the news. That's why you hate me? You don't know how to admit it. And what about the parents of Fresno? I've had enough of you people. There's reasons why things become beyond famous, known, colloquially speaking. Goodbye. Same other grandmas in Fresno that I had to go to all those funerals, even for 1 minute. They didn't even want to speak to their grandkids and their kids. You're in a dirty spit. Why? Because they're old women. They got to a certain age and they were cancer riddled. And they couldn't look at their own children and their behaviors in that goddamn town in the middle of the desert of California that many times. Excuse me. Basta. When you speak about unusual on the coastlines, don't make it a pattern. Don't make it a holy grail. Often for other intel in the US. Because you get losses in your country. And then you complain about it. And then people will say, just stay out of the country. You have ICE, you have others. You're deporting people, deport them. You can deport Fresno for its fame. You won't lose anything. It's an ass. Seriously.